please turn to the next blank page in your journal, put today's date at the top, and add the title, Converting Decimals to Fractions. Remember that you can pause this video or rewind at any time. Before we begin with today's lesson, let's do a quick review of our place value chart. Remember that in front of the decimal I have the ones, the tens, the hundreds, the thousands, the 10,000s, the 100,000s, and so on. And remember, when I'm reading a number and it has a decimal, I say the word and. Behind the decimal, I have the tenths, the hundredths, the thousandths, and the 10,000ths place. You may need to flip back in your journal if you need to review your formula, your place value chart some more. Now let's do some practice problems together. It asks you to write the decimal in word form, that means all words, and then as a fraction in simplest form. So let's look at number 1. The correct way to say decimal 25 is 25 hundredths because the 5 is in the hundredths place. So they want me to write it in word form. So 25 hundredths. Now we need to write it as a fraction. So 25 hundredths is 25 over 100. But make sure now that you write your answer in simplest form. So I'm going to have to simplify 25 hundredths. Now here's what I notice. When I see a 25 and I see a 100, I think of quarters. So that tells me I can divide both the numerator and the denominator by 25. 25 divided by 25 is 1. 100 divided by 25 is 4. So now I have the fraction 1/4. And one reason that we know 1/4 is in simplest form is because the numerator is 1. Don't forget to check your rules so you'll know for sure that your answer is in simplest form. Number 2. I need to start by writing 0.04 in words using correct place value words. So I look at the last number, the 4. It's in the tenths, hundredths place. So that number is 4 hundredths. Then I need to write 4 hundredths as a fraction. So 4 hundredths is 4 over 100. I know they're both even, so I know I can simplify. I know that since they're both even, 2 divides into both, but I want to see if I can find the largest number possible that will divide into both. And the largest number that will divide into both is 4. So I'm going to divide numerator by 4 and divide denominator by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 100 divided by 4 is 25. So 4 hundredths simplifies to 1/25. Don't forget to check your rules so you'll know your answer is in simplest form. And we know it is because our numerator is equal to 1. Let's try a few more. Number 3. Notice my 8 is in the tenths place. So the correct way to say this is 8 tenths. So let's write it in words. 8 tenths. And to write 8 tenths as a fraction, it's going to be 8 over 10. I notice both numerator and denominator are even, so I know I can simplify. Since they're both even, I know I can divide numerator by 2 and denominator by 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 10 divided by 2 is 5. One reason that I know 4/5 is in simplest form is because my numerator and denominator are 1 away. Another reason you could also tell me is because the denominator is prime. Number 4. First, we have to know the correct way to say this using words. So our last place is the tenths, hundredths, thousandth place. So that's 125 thousandths. So let's write that in words. 125 thousandths. Now we need to write that as a fraction. So 125 thousandths means 125 over 1,000. Now, I know they both end in a 5 and a 0, so I know I can divide by 5. But here's what else I notice. I notice that 125, that's like 125 cents. So that'd be like 5 quarters. This is like 1,000 cents, which would be like $10. So I think of quarters, so I know I can divide by 25. So I'm going to ask myself, how many quarters would be in $1.25? That would be 5. So 125 divided by 25 is 5. Then how many quarters would be in $10? Well, if $1 there's 4 quarters, then in $10 there would be 40 quarters. But now here's what I notice. I can still keep simplifying. I have a number that's 5 and a number that ends in a 0, so I know I can divide by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 40 divided by 5 is 8. Now I'm 100% sure my answer is in simplest form because my numerator is 1. Okay, number 5. Again, they want me to write the decimal in word form and then as a fraction in simplest form. So let's look at number 5. The correct way to say number 5 is 6 thousandths because 6 is in the thousandths place. So let's write it in words. 6 thousandths. 6 thousandths as a fraction means 6 over 1,000. Now I need to simplify. I notice that both numbers are even, so I know I can always divide by 2 if they're both even. Remember, when I divide by 2, it's like taking half. So half of 6 is 3. Half of 1,000 is 500. Now I have to see if I can simplify anything by anything else. I know that 3 is prime, but I need to know if that prime number of 3 can divide into 500. So remember our rules for divisibility by 3's. I add the digits together. 5 plus 0 equals 5. And ask yourself, can I divide 5 evenly by 3? No, I cannot. So that means 3 will not divide evenly into 500. So my answer is in simplest form because the numerator is prime and it will not divide into the denominator. Number 6. Let's write it in word form first. The correct way to say this is 45 hundredths because 5 is in the hundredths place. So 45 hundredths. The correct way to write 45 hundredths as a fraction is 45 over 100. I know I can continue to simplify because it ends in a 5 and a 0, so I know I can divide by 5. 45 divided by 5 is 9. 100 divided by 5 is 20. Now let's see if I can continue to simplify some more. Can you think of anything that divides evenly into 9 and 20? Well, I know the only numbers that divide evenly into 9 are 1, 3, and 9. 1 will divide into 20, but it won't change my numbers any when I divide by 1. 3 will not divide into 20, and neither will 9. So therefore, 9/20 is in simplest form because no number will divide evenly into both the numerator and the denominator. 2 more examples. Notice on number 7 and number 8, I have whole numbers in front of the decimal. So don't forget to include those. So number 7, the correct way to say number 7 is 5 and 6/10. So let's write it in words. 5 and 6/10. So since I have an and a decimal, I know that I'm going to have a mixed number. So 5 is my whole number. 6/10 is going to be 6/10. I'm going to have to simplify 6/10. They're both even numbers. So I can divide numerator by 2, divide denominator by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Notice now both my numerator and denominator are both prime, so I know I can't simplify any further. When you write your answer, be sure to put your whole number and your fraction together. So my correct answer is 5 and 3/5. Okay, let's check number 8. Number 8 says 2 and 75/100. So let's write it in words. 2 and 75/100. The 2 is going to be my whole number. And then 75/100 as a fraction is 75/100. Now again, I'm seeing a 75 and 100, so I immediately think of quarters. So that means I can divide numerator by 25 and denominator by 25. So 75 divided by 25, that means I have 3/4. 100 divided by 25, that means I have 4/4. And now I notice that 3/4 is in simplest form because numerator and denominator are 1 away. Don't forget to bring your whole number and your simplified fraction together to get 3 and 3/4. Now it's time for you to practice on your own. You need to complete 9 through 12 in your journal and then have them checked.